My girlfriend's girl nights outs included her friends' significant others. I feel left out. So, to make a long story short, my GF of nearly 3 years has always had her girl nights out. Every 3 weeks or so. Which is perfectly fine because I also had nights where I did stuff with my friends as well. We're all in our mid to late 20s, by the way. But yesterday, while my GF's friend and her boyfriend hung out at our place, the boyfriend referenced something that happened on Saturday, which was her last night out. I was confused, and after a bit of probing found out that not only is he a regular on these nights outs, but her other 2 friends bring their own boyfriends along as well. It's just me who has never been asked, nor even informed that these girl nights out weren't the just need to be with my girls for a bit relaxing nights as she used to claim. Literally a few weeks ago we talked about her upcoming night out with them, and she told me something like, sometimes I just really need to be just with the girls. Of course I asked her once we were alone why she's never brought it up or why I have never been invited. But she just kept claiming that the guys weren't always invited. And most of the time they just tagged along. Honestly, I feel pretty alone and disrespected right now. Plus even now, almost 3 years later, I feel like I am barely in her friend group. I feel like if they were all meeting up anyway, I could have been there and maybe have become friends with them as well. Unlike her, I do invite my GF around to do stuff with my own set of friends a lot. Now it feels like it wasn't just the girls she wanted to see, but rather that she just really didn't want to spend that time with me, while her friends had no problem spending their time together with their boyfriends. I don't really know what to think or what to do. Update. Hey. So first of all, thank you all for your comments. I couldn't reply to them all due to the thread being locked. I read through them all and I did what I probably should have done directly when it first happened. I went and talked to her. To make a long story short, there were never any girls' nights out. These were always simple nights out with her friend group. So why wasn't I invited? Because they all hate my guts due to her own fault. According to her, my GF said back when we started dating she'd always vent to them about me. All these small issues we fixed between her nights out and literally never talked about again was all her friends group knew about me. Issue after issue. But never how we fixed it together as well. She realized that as well and stopped venting about me, but at that point it was, according to her, too late. They'd always joke about me behind their backs. The feeling I had of being ostracized on the rare occasions where one of her friends would hang out at our place wasn't just a feeling after all. They do really hate me. I simply wanted to know why she was okay with that and why she wouldn't stand up for our relationship. She said she wasn't okay with that, but what could she do? Her friends would have crap talked her if she said anything. Not only that, but her friends have me as the butt of all their jokes. In their minds I am an incompetent, impotent bouffon. All these ducking side eyes I got when I would talk to any of them wasn't just in my imagination. I'd talk to my GF back then and she'd always say it's just in your head. To be honest, it made me mad that she was trying to be the victim in this situation, and I don't know why, but finding out that they despise me and my supposed to be GF is tolerating it and wouldn't defend me made me really upset. If I am being honest, at this point I kind of mentally checked out, and I already knew that I won't allow this disrespect and that this relationship is already through. Yet there is so much I just don't understand. So I asked her simply, why? Why would you be okay with any of that, and why wouldn't you either stop being friends or literally demanding them to stop talking like that about us and about me? All she said was something like, you know how I am. I don't really like being the center of attention. I just kept quiet. Finally, I just asked her if anything would change going forward, and she said she could try talking to them individually, but she said it in such a timid way that I don't think for a second she actually meant it. Anyway, long story short, I broke up with her. It sucks and I feel really badly about myself right now. I've always tried to be the best version of myself in this relationship. But knowing that there is a whole group of people out there who literally hate me, and the one person who is supposed to love and defend me no matter what, yet didn't, kind of sucks. Too long, didn't read. We talked. Found out there were no nights out. Her friend group hate me and she tolerated and wouldn't even entertain the thought of changing anything about it. I broke up with her. The girlfriend's behavior just kept getting worse as the story went on. She created this toxic situation. Wouldn't do anything about it, then gaslight OP when he started to catch on. I love the follow-up stories where OPs say screw this and stand up for themselves. I just hate the fact that OP's ex will say the neutral statement of we broke up. And the friend group will hate OP even more. Not that OP needs to be friends with these people. But this is more irrational hate created from irrational hate. It's a vicious cycle that people will think even lower of one person, despite that one person having done nothing wrong. Yup. The multiply 100% will throw OP under the bus and let her friends paint him as the bad guy. The good news is that they're both in their 20s, so plenty of time to find an actual partner that is good for them. Sometimes the purpose of relationships is to show us what we don't want out of our next relationship. Not even ex throwing him under the bus. Just that the friend group has a negative preconception of OP. OP is justified in breaking up with ex. Ex could explain the whole situation in objective truth. And explain themselves as a terrible partner for not sticking up for OP. And OP can still get trashed by the friend group. Because it feeds into their narrative of OP's character being a terrible person. For myself, I understand I don't have to be everyone's friend. I understand that some people I have interacted have a negative impression of me. What messes with my mind is the idea that some stranger, whom I have never met before, ever, sees me in public, and give me the stink eye. So I gotta ask, what was her reaction to being broken up with? She cried and begged me not to. But as I said above, I asked her if anything at all would change. But even then she wouldn't budge. I was 99% sure I was going to end the talk broken up with her. But after seeing her in action, and the actual talk just solidified it so much more. She left for her BFF's apartment and hasn't messaged me yet. But to be honest, there isn't really anything she could say to change my mind by now. I loved and still do love her a lot. But I am still trying to process her friends more or less bullying me indirectly, and her literally just being okay with it. This isn't the kind of person I thought she'd be. Nor the kind of person I want in my life. Second story. I 26 female think I am finally ready to leave my narcissistic boyfriend 35 male. Any advice, insight, or words of wisdom is greatly appreciated. I don't even know where to begin. I am so heartbroken, yet numb at the same time. I have been with Jay for over a year now. We moved really quickly, lived pretty far apart. We were originally talking about him coming to live with me. But a window opened up for me. I was able to leave, start anew, or stay where I was, be apart from Jay for an undetermined amount of time. I decided to go for it. I am a romantic at heart. The whole situation was very exciting. But we all know where this is going. Sorry. This is a really long one. I am definitely no angel. Things were really good for the first few months, but pretty much ever since then we fight, argue pretty consistently. I am a very affectionate, emotional, invested person when it comes to relationships. He is very solitary and very much enjoys being alone. He hadn't had a serious relationship in quite some time before I started dating, so I was able to be somewhat understanding. But if we were ever to get into a really bad argument, it was just me, on my own, trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces, be okay again. There's really too much that's happened to pinpoint anything in particular. But for well, now he has just been incredibly cold to me whenever we disagree. He is very proud, stubborn as well. So he rarely ever backs down. Even if he knows he is wrong. He has a very hard time apologizing or even acknowledging, validating my feelings. The biggest what the duck about all of that is that he is a social worker who's been in the field for quite a few years. He understands my needs, what hurts me. He understands the importance of validating someone's feelings, even if you don't see eye to eye. He understands everything that we should be doing, but everything is all so ducked up. In addition, over the course of the past year he also has turned more to alcohol. And when he's drinking, his antics are taken to the extreme. Before I moved here I didn't really think he drank all that much. He never did when we visited each other. But I know sometimes he drank wine to help him sleep. Now, he drinks at least a bottle or more a night. Sometimes he will buy liquor, has gone through 4 to an entire bottle of whiskey in one night. The most recent time being about a week ago. It floors me, breaks my heart every time. I grew up with an alcoholic mother who still has not stopped drinking. So it kills me, triggers me. Bringing back feelings of abandonment, all of that because I was on my own a lot when I was younger. I've shared all of this with him. He knows. Nothing ever changes. The worst part to me is that when he is angry at me he says the meanest, most hateful things he can say to hurt me. He will look me right in the eye, try to break me. He doesn't flinch when I cry. If anything, I repulse him when I show any emotion. But when it comes to apologizing or talking about his feelings he can barely look at me. He has no idea how badly the things he says hurts me. I don't think he believes me when I try to explain it. He always thinks I am being too sensitive or irrational. I am sensitive. But he's also very insensitive. I know that I nag him too much, make an issue out of things that I should just let go. I am hard to deal with myself. I just can't rationalize being intentionally hurtful, doing the things he does. I've never wanted to hurt him or cause him pain. I love him so much, I wish that mattered to him. This past weekend was a nightmare. This past week alone he has chosen to sleep on the couch 4 or 5 times. On Friday, he barely spoke to me while we both were at work. I texted him about my day throughout the day. Nothing. I called him on my way home. He actually answered but sounded like a robot the entire time we were on the phone. He did not want to talk to me, told me he didn't text me throughout the day because he was busy. Right. I get home, he still seems indifferent. It hurts. I know he needs his space a lot. I have been bad about not respecting that. But that day I told him that I would stay upstairs if he wanted to be alone. And that's what we did. Then later he left to get dinner. Came back. Still more of the same. Finally at 9 p.m. After being ignored for an entire day, I broke down. I was sobbing. Asking him what I did, why he was giving me the cold shoulder. He said he just wanted to relax. That was his only reason. And he said that he couldn't relax with me. He still didn't want to talk to me. Didn't care that I was upset. He just wanted to relax. I can understand what he's saying, but how he goes about this is all wrong. It's always the same. He never gives me a chance. He gives me the cold shoulder when I protest. He's even more distant. Eventually he will stop talking altogether. He will just sit there, stone-faced, looking at me while I cry. While I plead with him to talk to me, to stop being so cold. If we're in bed, he will just pretend that he's asleep. He won't move or respond at all. It's really immature, really hurtful. He does this several times a week. He just shuts down, has no remorse. For me, it's completely frustrating, mentally taxing. It feels like he's torturing me. I hate being ignored most of the time. I don't understand why I am being ignored. I am left to deal with it on my own. Friday was no different. I went to sleep crying while he was laying next to me. The next morning he actually talked to me a little. But he was pissed at me. I was pissed. Sad. Heartbroken. Frustrated. And I felt like I wasn't being heard. That's how I usually feel. He seemed a little more receptive to me. But I kept wondering whether any of it was genuine. For the past month or so I've really started to feel like nothing he says is the truth. When he says he loves me, cares about me, things like that, it always feels like he's forcing himself to say it. Saturday I was a wreck. At that point I just kept reliving all the other nights like that we've had. Where I've been upset, crying, had no one to talk to. I have friends back home who I talk to from time to time, but they're sick of hearing about it. They are always open to me, but I feel embarrassed stupid. Telling them about the same things over again. I was in bed practically all day. I didn't really eat or get up other than to use the bathroom. He laid with me for a while that morning. He did stay with me for a while, which I found surprising. Eventually he left to take the dogs to the dog park. I went to sleep. When he got back, he wanted me to get ready so he could take me to dinner. I was not feeling up to it. He seemed disappointed, but he kept trying. He eventually made dinner for us both, which was nice. I couldn't shake all the negative feelings that I had, though. I was trying to be myself with him, enjoy the moment, but I kept thinking of all the other negative crap that always outweighs moments like that. He can be a really sweet guy. He has done a lot for me. I know that he does try to be what I need some of the time. His problem is that he can be extremely selfish, cold, to the point where I feel it's downright cruel. He also concerns himself more with winning. He views our arguments or disagreements as a challenge. If he backs down, whether he's wrong or not being a good person, he loses. He doesn't lose. While I do things of my own that piss him off, I couldn't do the things that he does. To me it feels like psychological torture. I beg him to stop, but get nowhere. Saturday ended on okay terms. Sunday, yesterday, was actually a lot better. I was feeling more motivated, wanted to get out, do something with him, to feel closer to him. We ended up just staying at home most of the day, watching football with his brother, cleaning house, which is what we typically do on Sundays. It was nice. Things seemed more normal. Later we went to the dog park together. We usually talk there. We talked about the past couple of days, what the hell was happening, going wrong. I told him that I know I need to stop nagging him so much, let him just be sometimes. I told him that I cannot handle when he straight up ignores me, lets me sit there cry. I told him that I thought it was cruel, felt inhumane, like he was punishing me. We aired everything out, but it's everything we've said to each other before. This entire weekend I had been questioning openly whether we were right for each other. I mean, at this point I think it's obvious that crap isn't working. And he was actually the one to argue that. He always argues with me, even with how I feel. But it's usually not in favor of something positive. He said that he thinks we can be right for each other, have a lot in common, thinks that we both could just try a lot harder. I told him that I've always been willing to try, that he is the one who eventually turns, makes me feel alone. I told him that if that's how he was going to continue making me feel, then I'd rather just actually be alone. It's so much worse having someone you love physically with you, but still feeling completely isolated alone. Again, all stuff we've talked about. He seemed apologetic, willing to work on it, willing to stop the selfish antics. Of course I want to believe him. That is my problem. I always feel like he's finally going to choose love over his own pride, ego. But in the end it never happens that way. After the dog park I was feeling a lot better. We came home. I made dinner. We watched a movie. We cuddled, behaved like a normal couple at last. Then when we were going to bed everything changed. We were laying in bed talking about everything again. He was actually being open, receptive. It felt good. I felt like we were getting somewhere. Then out of the blue he asks me if I'll take him to the liquor store to get whiskey. By this point it was 10 p.m., which is when we're usually in bed. He had several glasses of wine. He didn't feel comfortable driving, but I was not going to drive him to get booze so that he could get drunk, belligerent on me. I said no, but he kept asking. I told him that I was enjoying just laying there with him talking, that was enough for me. I told him that it hurt that he didn't want to just stay with me for one night. That is talking, being together, and normal wasn't good enough. He still just wanted to take the edge off. Again. I am hurt. Eventually he got up, decides he's going to drive himself. I kept asking him to please not go. Please just stay with me, talk. Please just let being with me be enough for tonight. He acts all calm, says that everything is fine. He says that he does like talking to me, wants to keep doing that, but just wants to drink a little more. I kept begging him not to leave. He just kissed me on the head, said he'd be right back. He left. I started crying. It snowed a lot last night, so I would have been surprised if he actually decided to drive in that. After 15 minutes he hadn't come back upstairs. So I went downstairs. There he was. He was just sitting on the couch watching TV. Apparently he decided to just walk to the bar next door, get a growler. I asked what he was doing. He was just relaxing again. I asked why he didn't come back upstairs. He just shrugged. He said he just wanted to relax, didn't want to deal with this. I was obviously upset again, because again we just took several steps back from where I thought we were, the understanding I thought we had. Eventually he comes upstairs. I ask him why he's being the way he is. He gives me one-word responses. He doesn't comfort me, barely looks at me. He gets in bed fully clothed. He obviously doesn't plan on staying. I am trying to talk to him, but eventually he just stops responding. He just lays there, looks at me. Nothing behind his eyes. I eventually give up, just start sobbing. When I look back to him, he has his eyes closed, is going to sleep. I beg him to not do this again. To remember the things we talked about earlier. To not turn his back on me again. It doesn't matter. He doesn't stop. Eventually I told him I can't be around, that he can either stop or sleep downstairs. To my astonishment, don't know why I was surprised. He rises from his deep sleep, grabs a pillow before walking toward the door. I ask him again to please not do this. To listen to me. To look at me. He stops, turns to me, but literally just stands there with his eyes closed, says nothing. Does nothing. I shrivel back into bed, keep crying. He leaves. And that's that. I called my best friend right after because I felt like I was going ducking insane. That this could not actually be happening. She basically agrees that it's crazy. That she's observed how manipulative he's been with my feelings for a while, how I've been losing my sense of self-worth. She was really pissed, worried. She was really awesome, eventually had me laughing. Even after we got off the phone, she continued texting me throughout the night, trying to get me to think about something else. I slept off on, but felt like I didn't sleep at all. I called into work, but I still haven't been able to sleep, don't know what to do. This morning he didn't say anything to me or do anything. I texted him after he left that he's literally the cruelest person I've ever met. And I do believe that. The little ducked up things he does almost on a daily basis feels like psychological torture. I feel like I am going crazy. He's making me feel like I am the crazy one. All the while he doesn't seem to be bothered at all. We've gone back forth like this for a while now. Eventually we'll make up. Eventually he'll start being sweet for a day or two. Tell me how much I mean to him. And then it happens all over again. I don't think I can do it anymore. I am so miserable. I feel so incredibly unloved. I never done the things that he does to me, nor have I seen or heard of anyone doing that to their partner. I just don't get it, have this overwhelming sense of regret for not understanding any of it. I can't fathom how he can be like this to someone he loves. I know that he is jaded, has been emotionally ducked in the past. I mean, who hasn't? He was previously married for about 5 years. According to his best friend, his ex-wife used to do the same manipulative, psychological things to him. But I still don't get it. How someone can be so cruel. I feel so many things. I wish I could help him. I want him to see that he doesn't have to be alone, that he can be happy with someone. That he can have love without the fear. I've tried to let him know so many times that I would never intentionally hurt him or turn my back on him. I've always been completely open to him and loyal. He knows that. But it doesn't make a difference. He can't. Or won't be that for me. And in the meantime he's ducking with my emotions so badly I am starting to lose myself. It's really hard. I moved to be with him. He's the only friend I have out here. But as it turns out, he's not my friend at all. He doesn't have my back or my best interests at heart. I really want to pack all my stuff in my car, just drive back home. It would be 3 days of driving, but I feel like it might be worth it if I can figure logistics save some money to afford it. The thought of completely starting over running home at this stage in my life is so defeating. But it would probably be such a relief to be around my real friends, my family again. My friend was begging me to come home. I still don't know what to do. Deep down I still want to love this man. I want him to wake up, realize what he's creating. For himself mostly. But that's not going to happen unless he wants to see it. I am so heartbroken. Right now I am just at home reeling. I've cried so much over the past few months, I am sick of it. I just feel empty, have an overwhelming sense of unease of not knowing what the hell to do anymore. Thus far nothing I do and or say matters to this person who matters so much to me. I would love any advice or any insight. Especially if you have experience with this or know any narcissists. I don't throw that term around lightly. The last thing I want to believe is that he is truly this way. But his words' actions have contradicted one too many times. Overall, the things that he does make me feel completely unloved. I've never felt so small, insignificant to someone I care so much about. And I've never heard of someone who loves you just not reacting, or having any feelings about it when you actually tell them these things. He doesn't seem human to me sometimes. He doesn't care. I can't stop caring. I need to get away from here. Edit. I sent him this email a little earlier. It reads kinda like a breakup email. But I honestly have no earthly idea how I am going to be able to ignore him or sleep next to him. This sucks. I love you. You know that. But I am not sure that you understand it or know what it means. I think that you are worth loving, that you deserve love. But you don't feel it yourself. I wanted so badly to believe the wonderful things you've said throughout our relationship, your claims of devotion to me. But what it boils down to for you, everyone, is that actions define character. Not words. There have been too many contradictions for me. So many that I feel like I must be going insane rather than this actually being my life, my relationship. I am emotional, hard to deal with. But I've been true to myself, true to you. I've been loyal. I've tried to be good to you. But I don't deserve the things I've had to deal with solely because of you. I wish you knew how to truly love someone. I wish that someone had shown you how. I wish you wanted to help yourself. But I know you'd rather be alone than to ask for anyone's help. I wanted to help you. I tried. You don't want it. You don't love me. You never did. And I know this is just another version of the same story for you. I really hope you can find love one day. Especially within yourself. You owe it to yourself to try to find that. Update. I didn't get many comments on my original post. But the comments that I did receive were so insightful, helpful, caring. Thank you so much to every person who provided input, took the time to reach out. I didn't take you up on your PM offers. But I did finally leave. I have been rereading it all to convince myself I did the right thing. I finally left. I did what I had been fantasizing about for months. I packed all of my things in boxes, tubs, filled up my SUV, drove 2 12-hour days back home. I always said I never wanted to come back home. Never wanted to live here. I don't really think it's a great place to live. But I knew I needed love back in my life. Leaving was really hard. My ex, I had a really bad fight one Friday night. I was drunk, woke him up to antagonize him. Not my finest hour, but I wanted to annoy him after weeks of him tormenting me with his indifference. But the next morning he requested that I leave. I was in shock. I was hurt. I apologized all day. Cried all day. All you can imagine. After 2 days of mostly being in bed, I decided I should go. My heart didn't want to leave, but I genuinely felt unwanted. I felt like a stranger in my home for months by that point. And now my best friend told me to leave, so I gathered my things on a Sunday. Told my ex on Monday that I was going to leave. And took off on Tuesday. When Tuesday came, he woke up, got ready for work like everything was peachy. Didn't really say anything to me. Wanted to give me advice on my route. That was about it. I was pretty ducking hurt by that. I called him at work, he just got pissed. Had nothing to say to me. Nothing of significance. So I called my best friend sobbing after I left that morning. Halfway into my day of driving, the ex emails me, asking if I actually left. I was in total disbelief at that stupid question, but I answered. He then starts complaining about, well, if you hadn't done this that night, I wouldn't have gotten mad. I wouldn't have told you to leave. We just went back and forth. Then he called me, crying. We had a pretty cathartic heart-to-heart. Talked for about 2 hours. Got everything out. He kept telling me to turn around, to come back home. More of the same. The next day I was driving. All throughout the next week he would send me good morning texts. Very loving messages throughout the day. He told me that he was going to come to me during spring break. He works at a school, bring me back home. We talked about so many things the day up to a week after I left. He said he wanted to go to counseling. He actually apologized for his behavior. He listened to me. Said he wanted to do everything to make our relationship work to get me back. Even said he would get me a promise ring. All of these things I had been dying for when we were actually together. Then one day he tells me he would like some space to clear his head. A couple of days. So I give him that. Right before this break. He says that no matter what happens he will still fly down here to talk in person. Whether we stay together or not. Both of our families live in the same area. So it wouldn't be a total waste if things didn't go well with us. 2 days go by. I haven't heard from him. I texted him. Just that I miss him. I get no response. And pretty much from then a week or more ago until now, we haven't actually talked. He finally responded to some of my emails. One night when he got drunk. Told me that after thinking about everything he was mad at me again. Told me he needed more time. By this point I am pretty much back to where I was when we were breaking up. Hurt. Angry. Confused. Lost. I felt like he just slipped through my fingers. 4 or 5 days ago I sent him a pretty long email. Basically telling him in an eloquent way that his behavior is crap, that I am not going to keep waiting on him, putting my life happiness on hold while he decides whether or not I am worth anything to him after all. I got no response to that. I haven't heard from him since. Up until a couple of days ago. I was pretty sad, lethargic. My family friends have been wonderful. I haven't been struggling other than emotionally. But I felt like my life was taken away from me. The worst part is that I had no control or say in the matter. I just felt wrecked. Dejected. But 2 or 3 days ago I finally woke up, I think. I started to just get ducking pissed. Pissed at this 35-year-old man-child, who at least owes me a proper breakup via phone, but can't seem to muster the will. I told him that whether we broke up or not, I at least wanted to have a conversation about it. Closure. But apparently I don't even deserve that. I want to email him again, just tear into him. Tell him what a piece of crap he is. But even though I am really bitter, I don't have it in me to be that venomous. And I know it wouldn't matter. In my final email, I did leave my ex with a pretty stellar quote that I found in this subreddit. It hit me hard, has stuck with me. Most of my life has been spent trying to shrink myself. Trying to become smaller. Quieter. Less sensitive. Less opinionated. Less needy. Less me. Because I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be too much or push people away. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be cared for and valued. I wanted to be wanted. So for years, I sacrificed myself for the sake of making other people happy. And for years, I suffered. But I'm tired of suffering. And I'm done shrinking. It's not my job to change who I am in order to become someone else's idea of a worthwhile human being. I am worthwhile. Not because other people think I am, but because I exist. And therefore I matter. My thoughts matter. My feelings matter. My voice matters. And with or without anyone's permission or approval, I will continue to be who I am and speak my truth. Even if it makes people angry. Even if it makes them uncomfortable. Even if they choose to leave, I refuse to shrink. I choose to take up space. I choose to honor my feelings. I choose to give myself permission to get my needs met. I choose to make self-care a priority. I choose me. I told him that I am choosing me. So he doesn't have to. I now realize that I definitely made the right choice. He feels so far away now, my life with him already seems foreign to me. I realize how unlike me I had become over my time with him. I became more withdrawn, isolated. With him, I felt things I hadn't felt since childhood. Like abandonment. Always feeling inadequate, condescended to. Always like I was left to deal with everything on my own. Especially the problems in the relationship. I know that he wasn't responsible for my feelings. I didn't look to him for any answers. Just for love, acceptance. But after such a long period of feeling isolated, alone, my self-esteem was completely gone. I just felt like a disappointment every day. I've started acting more like my normal self lately. Seeing old friends has definitely helped with that. Sadly, I am honestly unsure whether or not my ex ever really loved me. And I am furious that I will probably never see or hear from him again. But I know I deserve so much better than that. Most people deserve better than this crap ending. I am scared of being so bitter, carrying this resentment, anger for a long time. I know it's not healthy, but I am not sure what to do about it at this moment in time. For now, I've been trying to just not worry so much about things I can't control. I've been trying to have fun, get my life back on track. Start living for myself again. I am embarrassed to be this age, feel like I am restarting. Having centered my life around a relationship so enormously. But I know I am fortunate in a lot of ways, need to stop being ducking sad all the time. I don't know what my life is going to look like a month from now. But for the moment, I am just going to go with the confusion, try to have as much fun as possible with my friends who have stuck by my side. Any advice you have would be awesome. You can't stay with this guy. It sounds like you both need help individually, and that you are actively bad for each other. It also sounds like he is an alcoholic, and that your only two choices are to let him drag you down with him, or to get away from him. Go back to your hometown. Go soon. I am not sure what logistics you're talking about. Pack the stuff that fits in your car, and just ship or leave whatever doesn't fit. If you don't have the travel money, somebody in your family might be willing to lend you the money. Or maybe you can sell possessions. Or just avoid this guy while working for another week to get the money. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.